just throw off membership. So there has been breakdown in the extended family. There has been breakdown in a lot of the membership and social structures that gave your ego life meaning. Now, we got so far over it, what do I want, what do I need? I mean, you go into another culture, like I go to India all the time. We're in the villages of India. They live with role identity, not personality identity. They fulfill their roles. I'm not arguing from it as whether it's bad or good. That is the issue. The issue is these people identify with role, not personality. They don't ask, what do I want, what do I need? They ask, what's my part to play? What's my dharma? What's my dharma? And then you come back to our culture, and it looks like the backwater of a mental hospital. I mean, everybody is, I'm not getting enough. I want more. I need. I had a terrible childhood you don't understand. I deserve. I mean, it's so painful. It's so thick. And everybody walks down the street telling you this is who they are. And everybody, I mean, it's like a victimized society. It's a bizarre thing. And this is all psychodynamic stuff, you know? And I don't think that's interesting enough, basically. I mean, I think personality is kind of fun, you know, to play with, but to get caught in it is such a drag. Really, it's just not interesting. So I would say that there has been an awakening for me to the fact that I was so caught in individualism that I was losing my sense of community. And when my father was too old and I took care of him for many years, I wasn't the primary caretaker, but I made sure everything was all right. Gave that whole scene a lot of stability for about 10 years. During that time, I watched my own consciousness go from the first thing when I was the one that moved into the house to take care of Dad. Everybody said, isn't he good to be doing that? See, you can hear that, where it comes from. And I milked it. See? I'd say, well, somebody has to do it. See? And I was busy being righteous. Well, I'll tell you, that lasted a few years, and they get worn out. See? Whatever scenario you think is going just isn't interesting. And so we got to the point where I decided taking care of Dad was my yoga. Dad, you're my yoga. Turn over, you know. And we ran out of that one. And then we got into a place where there was just the shitting and the cleaning up the shit. There was the feeding and the wiping, and there was just the dance being done, and nobody really gave a damn who was doing it. And I suddenly realized I'd come home into something that I had been so busy pushing away. I mean, he was a different generation. How could he understand how I felt about it? Some of you must have experienced that. And what happened was, as I let go of all these models of him and me and what I thought I was doing and just did it, he changed. And he started to be this absolute, I mean, I never really liked him. And he turned into this really, it was like Buddha. He was just absolutely beautiful. And we'd hold hands and look at the sunset. He never did that. He never did. Once we were sitting out on his farm looking at the sunset. And he was looking out, and it was all, Dad had a lot of manicured lawns and stuff like that. And he said, isn't it beautiful, Rich? And I said, yeah, it shows little purples and oranges. He said, look at how tightly it's trimmed. See, he couldn't even get up to the sky. How did I think he was going to get to some other plane? And then there we were. There we were, unexpected, believe me, to both of us. Just hanging out together. And people would come in and they'd freak because he wasn't who he used to be. Somebody who didn't like him came in and said hi. And my father didn't answer, just smiled. And the person went out and said, that bastard still won't talk to me. And my aunt came in, who loved my father, her big brother, and she said, "George, how are you?" And he just smiled at her. And she said, "What have they done to you? Where have they taken you?" He was happy, I was happy, she was miserable. And so what I learned was in this very natural way of just listening and finding my way through. I found my way back into that kind of whole scene you're talking about, as opposed to the vertical kind of whole thing. So I feel it like that. I feel it as I tune into the internet. I feel it in a lot of ways in which I feel there is a democratization of energy and power, consciousness, and information is so clearly connected to power, and consciousness is better than information. And to the most conscious being go the spoils. So watch out. Questions? Yes. Speak about spirituality in the workplace. It always keeps coming back to the same thing. Where are you, by the way? It always comes back to the same thing. It's your work on yourself. Because the workplace is just a model in your mind for an existential situation in which you're meeting other souls through various skills. Now the question is, do you meet as souls or do you meet only in your roles? You hear what I'm asking? And so your work is to be there in your role and as a soul. And then the other person does whatever they can do. And then you're bringing into that workplace a level of consciousness that allows the whole scene to become more conscious without bulldozing anybody, because that's not going to work, believe me. So one of the things we've done, for example, is we've worked up like about 150-page statement of standards for businesses. Things that say, if I'm an ethical, moral, responsible human being, I really should think a little bit about the community where I'm dumping my waste. You know, it's just little issues like that. And it's interesting to start to help businesses re-look at their bottom line in terms of these issues. And I think what is shifting also is the appreciation of the difference between stockholders and stakeholders. And that as we get to look at businesses in terms of stakeholders, we start to appreciate where change can happen much better. Am I dealing with your question? What's my perspective on the life of Timothy Leary? How is his journey different than mine? Well, I'll give you a delicious vignette. In this vignette, you've got to understand that Timothy and I both had innumerable consciousness expanding experiences. But we responded differently to them, undoubtedly because of our karmic predilections. And so Timothy became fascinated with form, and I became more fascinated with formlessness. So you can call me a mystic, you call him a visionary. So we were different, and he loved thought, and I kind of saw thought as something to be a little free of. So now it's close to his death, and he is downloading his mind into his webpage, because that's what a scientific materialist would do. He's also going to freeze his brain, as the other thing he set up, cryonics, for later when it can be required. So I, as a psychologically trained entity, feel that he is caught in his mind, and that when he dies, it's going to be difficult for him because he's made such an investment in something that's going to crumble. So he's ill prepared because he's in denial. So I got to help him. So I get down to help Timothy, but nobody there seems to need help. They're all in virtual reality. I mean, they're on cyberspace. Everybody in the house is in cyberspace, and they're downloading. And they're all downloading everything, and it's incredible. Nobody's dying. So I'm the only one worried about dying. None of them are. So but I had my little suspicions. But he and I had this whole lifetime tension between these two views. So now he's dying. It's a few days before he's dying. He calls me around 11:30 at night and he says, "Richard, I think I'm losing my memory." So I said, "Yeah." He said, he said, "Memory's just about everything." I said, "Yeah." I knew he thought that. He said, "But he said, there's something more than memory." It's like a deathbed confession, like, wow. So I said, "Yeah." He said, "But I forgot." I can't ask for a better playmate than that. I want you to know, all right? That's a real playmate. And so the last time I was down there, I was with him, and he was signing blotter art, acid blotter art. He got $100 for every signature, and he was practically dead, and he was just like, and I was taking them away as he signed them, and I said, "Timothy, we're doing piecework. This is great." And I saw that he had this whole game around him, and I looked in his eyes, which he never did that much. I looked in his eyes, and who I saw looking back at me was so far behind all his games. He was somebody open to the mystery. So much, not even trapped in being the adventurer, which is a trap. He was just right there. And it completely, all the thing drained out of me, all my psycho-paranoia. And I just felt absolutely go, friend, go. And there was one thing he did with his dying that I really want to applaud. He published daily his drug intake. And it was picked up by CNN and Newsweek. So it would say he had so much coffee, so many Dilaudids, so many balloons of nitrous oxide, so many hash cookies, so many of scotch, and so many. And at first I thought, well, he's certainly being showy, But then I saw that he was saying, when you tailor your own drug needs at the time of dying, the way he was choosing to do it was to stay as pain-free as he could, as alert as he could, and have as much fun as he could. See, now that third one, you see how hard that sells in this culture? Have fun dying? Don't be silly. That's obscene. Why? And I love the fact that he played that one out. I just think that's beautiful. It's just a statement, a social statement. Timothy was, with predispositions, very much of a revolutionary. He was very busy overthrowing the establishment. And I am very much of an evolutionary, in the sense I sneak in and permeate, and it all changes, and I don't go against. And when we worked together, it was quite exquisite, because he was very evolutionary, of course, also. But his revolutionary bent of fighting like the Irish fighting the English, whatever it was that was in him, or the Catholic altar boy. There was a very far out moment. Near the end, I came to visit him, and I knew about his diet of all his medicines and his consciousness of the pain and the state of the cancer. And I said to him, Timothy, this is a really interesting time. What have you found out? Got anything for me to tell the truth? You know? And he said, well, the first thing I found out is, and I really leaned forward to get this one, he said, is that I'm a good boy. Isn't that tasty? And that's all. I just want to share that. That's a big one. Let me just make sure I'm getting around here. Yes, way back. Woman? Yes. A youth suicide rate? Well, I think that first of all, I think that death and sex are much closer together in cultural consciousness than they ever were. And I think that kids feel often very, very cut off from the whole structure of society. Everybody, family, friends. And I think they're starving to death in their minds. And then they really want to escape that space. And because it's unbearable to be that cut off, to be that home. And most people either try to break their way out of it forward or make do with very little. And some people just say, I can't play, I can't stay. I mean, it may well be that the person is a very evolved being and is just dropping their body, and it's not that they're dying inappropriately, because since you don't know really what we're doing here, it's hard to figure out whether the child killing himself knows something you don't, or is making a terrible error. See, and it's very presumptuous in a way to act as if you do know when you don't know. I mean, sometimes I look at childhood deaths and I feel with the culture the pain of a young life not living out its dreams. But then a kind of little rascally part of my mind says, imagine we're all here in the 4th grade. We've all been born in the 4th grade, and somebody comes along and says, you're going on to the 5th grade early. And everybody in the 4th grade says, no, don't leave us. You're so young. And the other person's only going to the 5th grade. And I get a feeling at times that we are so enamored of where we think we are, that we're not really, that it colors our judgment about how long people should live. I really have a sense that, and my guru said this at one point, nobody dies a minute too late or a minute too soon. Now I have to figure out why it could happen to that person at that moment. Or feel it and understand it in my heart. But not judge it. Not judge it. Yes? I think you change a stigma by not holding it. It's the first thing you do. And if you're even against the stigma, it's got you. So it's a lot to get beyond stigma, to just be with the person behind the stigma. That's really what you're doing. But for you to do that, you've got to get beyond the stigma, or your reaction to it. It's interesting. Questions? So. Aha! How do you keep your center when everybody around you is losing theirs or has lost theirs? Well, I'll tell you, what you usually do is you pick battles you can win now and then. And you don't go near the really heavy things unless you have to. And if you have to go near them, you usually drown for a while, and then you sputter to life again and realize you've gotten caught in this stuff. And you just barely hold on, and then you start to get strong. And that's usually what happens. Once you understand what this process of this curriculum of awakening is about, then that situation is like Kali has come with her tongue dripping blood to purify you. And you'd say, oh wow, instead of being surrounded by satsang or sangha, I'm surrounded by total illusion. I remember the moment when I'd been thrown out of Harvard, and there was a press conference, because I was the first person in 6,000 years to be thrown out of Harvard. And the press was surrounding me, the television, the radio, and they were all looking at me like I was a loser because I had taken on Harvard and lost. And I felt like somebody who had lost a big fight and would now be sweeping the gym. But the predicament was that inside myself, I felt like I'd won. And I said, because I was now connected with this deeper spiritual truth in my being. And I said to myself, the psychologist in me said, that is psychosis. When everybody thinks one way and you think another way, you should give yourself a second opinion. And I turned out to be right. I thought, if it's psychosis, here we go. Because you can't deny your inner truth just because it happens to be psychotic at a cultural moment in history. Because what psychosis in one moment is sainthood in another. Not always, but questions, sir? The practice of meditation in my life. The more deeply I became involved in the journey of awakening, the more I began to see the predicament I was in relation to my own mind, and see that I was incredibly trapped in identification with my thoughts, my desires, my stuff. And it was in that appreciation that I first started to enter into meditation as a practice that promised that if I would use some discipline in undertaking it, it would help me extricate my awareness from identification with my thought. Not to deny the thought, but not to be trapped by it. So I went into, at that time, Theravada Buddhism, Vipassana meditation. Very simple, following your breath, rising and following your steps, lifting, pushing, things. And I developed some samadhi or concentration. And And then you take that concentration and you start to examine your mind with that concentrated mind. And you start to break through into other levels of awareness. And this just happens with discipline of pursuing one of these paths. What happened was, over years, I practiced very many different kind of meditation strategies. And I'm a kind of an eclectic dilettante, jerk. But what I found is that every one of them worked with another part of my being and helped me. I could see that each one started to have a payoff. And I started to be much more interested in a whole lot of other kinds of meditation practices, many more devotional. Am I dealing with your question? Yes? The soul is the ocean that thinks it's a soul. The thought that it is a soul is what reincarnates. I mean, it's still a drop in the ocean, so it's still whatever it is. It just isn't, you don't stand inside of it any longer. You're the whole ocean. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. I didn't turn. Isn't that nice? Well, who are the U-turns to? I mean, you're watching it all. But that's their problem. What are you upset about? Well, as you do inner work through whatever method you do, you become different. It's not like you have something, it's you are something. Or you open to a deeper part of what you are. And that isn't exactly takeable away, because it's what you are. That's their problem. If you get caught in it, that's your problem. You're saying, I get caught in their judgments of me because I'm trying to convince them I'm right. You said. I would say you hold what you believe and be what you believe. One of my friends called from a mental hospital and he said, I know I'm the Buddha. He said, but when I tell my mother that, she's not the least bit appreciative. But he said, when I am the Buddha, she really likes it. Yes. Yeah. Right. He said that in talking about the chakras, he's heard me talk a lot about the lower three and a little bit about the fourth, but he's heard precious little about the fifth, sixth, and seventh. Well, that's because I talk from where I am. I've only heard tell about those other shows. No, I'd say that my ability to do this is an example of fifth chakra, the gift of Saraswati. I would say that the wisdom you and I have when we transcend knowledge, the wisdom that we are, when you simplify and go into the place where you are connected with the universe, the wisdom you are. Love that. What happens is, I start to go with the wisdom you are, and it just takes me into the wisdom you are. And then I'm not the least bit interested where I was a moment before. Now, it's interesting, when you're alone thinking, you don't mind doing that at all. But we are with each other, we keep feeling we're supposed to be linear. I get you, and the second point is, and I watch myself being very frustrated with me because I'm not more linear, but yet I don't think linearly at all. And the fun is, since we are recognizing a space of our consciousness by being together, the non-linear as well as the linear does the whole process. What was the question I was just responding to? Huh? Aha, the chakras. The wisdom. And then this one is where you aren't. You disappear. You're the drop in the ocean. You're the ocean. You're beyond ocean. You're the thousand-petal lotus. So I may drop up there for a second, but you know, I hardly have time to see the view. I'm really quite content being in the fourth chakra, to tell you the truth. It's been a long, hard struggle to get there. But as you get older, it gets easier. Sweet as they may be, yes. Well, the beauty of the Guru Kripa is what I was talking about before with the imaginary playmate. What I have is a being with me all the time, who is a mirror showing me what I still have to do, or where I still might be holding, because I see something when I look at him. And as I get further along in my connection to him, it ceases to be relational anymore. It is more of where we share a presence together. It is not I have become him, I am far from becoming Maharaji. And he's dead and I'm alive, and we are not one. And yet, there is a way in which that presence is transcending the way in which I am a seeker and he is Guru. And that's a very delicious stage of my existence at the moment. Yes. Yes. There was a moment in 1968 when I had been given the name Ramdas, which meant the name for Hanuman, the monkey god of Hinduism. And I was living at a temple, and I went to a nearby temple, and I sat daily in front of this 8-foot cement orange monkey with his chest ripped open, in which were a male and female form, Ram and Sita. And he had a mace over his shoulder. And I remember thinking about all of my colleagues back at Harvard and what they would think if they saw me there let alone all my Jewish relatives, sitting in front of, worshipfully, a large orange cement monkey. But what I was doing a very ancient spiritual practice, actually, which is the practice of devotion, which uses dualism to go beyond dualism. And so that you go into the essence of Hanuman, and then Hanuman is pointed towards Ram, and then you go through Ram, and then you go beyond. So I just see it as a method. I don't worship cement monkeys. I am using it as a method to get free, just in the same way as I would use the halakhic law to get free in Judaism. And I hear, like, I have a lot of difficulty in Judaism, for example, because there are ways in the halakhic law, for example, where it says if you don't have a vision, if you have a vision and that vision isn't the same vision that the great visionaries had, the prophets, and you articulate that vision, you are a false prophet. And I can't hear any instruction that tells me to invalidate my own intuitive sense of what is the closest to my truth. I really want to hold in the politics of consciousness the freedom to trust that intuitive thing. So I have a hard time with things like that. So I play with it a lot. I mean, I play with all of these issues a lot. But I don't see, and that's why I'm like a Hindu Jew or something like that, you know. I can't really see how I can say one way up the mountain is the only way up the mountain. It doesn't feel like that. Am I dealing with your question or not? Okay. Yes. She's asking about the experience of emptiness and the comparison between the experience of emptiness you might have with psychedelics, or theogens as they're now called, and or meditation, right? Well, I think the word emptiness is probably really not a good word to use, because it obviously isn't empty. That's the first reason why it's not a good word to use. I mean, it is full of everything, it just isn't manifest. So it's like the unmanifest, it's where it's all and everything and nothing at the same moment, because it hasn't taken form yet into something, and yet it is everything. So in a way, you would say that one of the ways of thinking about God is as that unmanifest everything or nothing. And for example, in meditation practice, you can go into nirvikalpa samadhi, formless emptiness, through bringing your concentration in so tight you can go between two thoughts. You go into the space between two thoughts, and there is no universe. And when you do that, you come into an experience in which, or see, there's the way the words fall down, because it is not an experience. It is a moment in which experiencer and experience are no longer in a dualistic relationship to one another. So there is no experience, so there's nothing. But you are everything. That's what that emptiness is we're talking about. Is that coming through? And then the question of the difference between psychedelics and meditation in terms of that experience. I don't know that I'm really clear in my own mind about it. I'll tell you what my guru said, which I thought is pretty interesting. He said, your medicine, meaning LSD, he said it would allow you to come into the the presence of Christ and have Christ darshan. You could be with, he said, but you could only stay for 2 hours and then you'd have to leave. He said it would be better to become Christ than visit him, but your medicine won't do that. So what I heard was that the medicine was an astral analog of emptiness rather than emptiness. But to me, that was still pretty useful along the way. I still like having 2 hours with Christ. Is that dealing with your question? Yes. How psychology, how to work with psychologicals, huh? Psychodynamics, yeah. Well, I now see psychodynamics as structural things of the mind. Where are you? Yeah. Structural things of the mind. And it seems to me that to the extent you get a little leg up into some kind of mindful state or witness or some kind of spiritual consciousness, then you can see psychodynamics more comfortably because you're less identified with them, because your awareness has come up. Like somebody will come and say, I'm depressed. And I'll say, are you really depressed? They'll say, yeah, I'm really depressed. I say, are you totally depressed? Yes, I'm totally depressed. I say, well, is the person that's telling me you're depressed? And they say, well, no, that person's just telling you. Aha. So there's a part of you that isn't depressed. And as you cultivate that part, actually, through practices, you get to the point where you can deal with the psychodynamic stuff much more lightly than when you are totally identified with it. So my sort of snide comment has been, if you want psychotherapy, be sure you don't go to somebody who thinks they're a therapist. See, because if they think they're real, then you must be real as the client. And who needs to be a client all their life? So be careful. It's human being meeting human being through the vehicle of massage or therapy or whatever it is. And if you aren't busy being a therapist, you see the other being as a soul who's got some psychodynamic stuff they're working on. It's like going in for fender and body repair on your old car, something like that. And you're very compassionate towards it, and you don't belittle it, but you don't make a life's work out of it. So, relationships. Relationship, spirit. Oh, you're going to tell me the question. Go ahead. Got it. Another horny celibate, yes. Yeah. I'll repeat the question in a second, in a paraphrase form. He's getting to the question. Paraphrase the question. His wife, with whom he is very close, and they love each other deeply, she's going back to India and he's horny. That's part of it. That is part of it. Huh? Is that part of it? Yeah, that is part of it. Okay. I mean, now this is an interesting predicament. I mean, I hear it. There are a number of choices. We can ask Jocelyn Elders. What? You can honor her spiritual chastity, but you've got to be honoring your own truth as well. There is the conflict. Yes. That becomes the spiritual practice right there, that tension. And your job is to extricate yourself from that tension to the point where you don't care which way it goes. And that's using that as a yoga. Doesn't mean you still won't be horny, but you won't be busy being horny. Do you hear what I'm saying at all or not? What? You know all this stuff. I mean, what I'm hearing is that you and your wife have tasted very deep spiritual truth with one another, and you've experienced it in part in a celibate environment in India. And when you came back here, you realized that there was a lot of stuff that had been pushed under the rug that was still around in you. And you were working with it, the two of you were working with all of this as well as you could, but it gets very complicated. And at some point, she decided, now maybe I got it wrong there, she decided to go back to India. Okay, well, see, when people come to me, for example, this isn't your case, but they come to me and they say, should I get divorced or not? I always say, since they came to me as a spiritual person, I say, it doesn't matter. They say, well, it matters to me. I said, well, there's the problem. I'm sure you went through a culture shock. It's a very horny culture. There's a lot of stuff arousing prurient interest everywhere you look. You know, and if you're going to buy those mind states, you're going to go the trip. And that's the predicament. You come back into a culture and everybody's saying the same stuff, so you think that must be reality. What it is a conspiracy of a culture to define reality a certain way. And the game isn't interesting enough to be caught in those kind of traps. It's worth working on yourself not to be caught. It doesn't matter which one you do. Not satisfying you, but we're working on it. Questions? Yes. No. No, the journey of awakening isn't choice, unfortunately. The question is the journey of awakening choice? I'd say no, it isn't. I would say that the journey of awakening is karma, and that that's law, and that it unfolds that you decide you're going to come here tonight. And it unfolds that from this, something shifts just a tiny bit, and then you decide you're going to do that. And then Something else goes on, and if you step back far enough to see the kind of awful unfolding and killing inside Cincinnati. So where was the choice? Choice is only when you have awareness that's free. So the desire for freedom is still a programmed thing in you. You're still conditional. And you're working for an unconditional awareness.
Mhm. basic. Drinking your better, choosing me, say, pay long, get to good more. Money, pay me hungry, money, pay me hungry. Money, pay me hungry. Dollars on the neck, you do good, you got to do good, changing, sugar, on the make it big, boys on it. Cause I got switch and put to the partial. Cause I got switch and put to Johnny and they shake it. Feel around me for you. Cause I got switch and put to Johnny and they shake it. Feel around me for you. Cause I got switch and put to partial. Fate to losing fortune through the bird, through the dead. How will you in humble hearts know the answers, find the right
Apparently, a crystal sea winds into my head. But when I breathe, all I see melts into the sand. So I'll be letting go now. 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 I'll be letting daylight becomes true. All the light will remain. Shadows crawl between thoughts that make me hold my breath in the rain. The river is alive. All the light will remain. Shadows crawl between thoughts that make me hold my breath in the rain. The river is alive. The river is alive. The river is alive. And oh, it was a winding bridge, fashioned of blood and stone. In all ways we were drawn to this, for there we rose with dawn. Shame remains in the dimmest light. I'll die with faith, but what better time than to hold on to the loneliest breath? There is no friend like the sweetest death. Will I ever come to wash in that water? Will I ever come to wash in that water? Will I ever come to wash in that water? There is no friend like the sweetest death. And slowly the banks would wash away to oceans of blood and stone. And always we were drawn to them, for there we rose with dawn. And shame remains in the dimmest light. I'll die with ache. What a better time than to hold on to the loneliest breath. There is no friend like the sweetest death. Will I ever come to wash in that water? Will I ever come to wash in that water? Will I ever come to wash in that water? There is no friend like the sweetest death. Ain't got no angels by my side no more. And sweet death is rapping in my big black door. chills raining down on me. Can't get no sleep underneath the dying tree. An old Saint Nick come and stolen my best. But then I lay where I can hear your breath. Seems like my time is over. I don't see myself getting much older, just older. Before this wave comes and hangs me at its crest, let me lay where I can hear you. Ain't got no angels on my side, no. Little old Rick just keeps rapping at my big black tongue.
Here's an owl outside.
Already
Here's an owl outside.
I can't get no
That's
where I can hear you. I gotta find it, I gotta know. I got a vision when I close my eyes. I see a river out in a meadowland. I see a serpent waiting in the sky. Cosm confusion, mechanic survival. All in collusion upon my arrival. Bloodline sisters into the water go. Ashes in the river, I step into the flow. I gotta find it, I gotta know. I got a vision when I close my eyes. I see a river out in a meadowland. I see a serpent waiting in the sky. Bloodline sisters into the water go. Ashes in the river, I step into the flow. Apparently, a crystal